Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Denise. So this is a perfect segue to talk about research and clinical trials. And I wanted to first clarify what we mean by clinical trials, the different phases of studies. I'm not going to talk about what we call observational trials. So observational research is when you participate by giving essentially information about yourself, maybe blood. All of us research is one of those. You give blood for genetic testing, but there's really no intervention. You're not getting any treatment. You're not getting any drug. You're not getting any new device put in your body or anything like that. Clinical trials can be divided into several phases, and we at UAB do all phases of clinical trials. In the nephrology division or kidney disease division, we primarily focus on phase 2 and 3 trials. And I'll briefly explain what that means. So these are, again, interventional studies where we're giving you some sort of intervention, experimental drug or something like that. So phase 1 tests an experimental treatment on really a small group of individuals, typically healthy individuals, to judge the safety and to come up with a side effect profile for that drug. If the drug is seen to be safe, then they proceed to phase 2 trials. And I have to remind you that before we even get to phase 1, which are human trials, this drug would have gone through a slew of research process. So the chemical is found out, then they have to test it against the disease, usually cells. Then they put it in animals that have the disease, rats, mice, so on and so forth. Sometimes they go to bigger animals, depending on the drug, and if they need to check toxicity, they may do it in dogs or monkeys that are the closest to humans. Then we go to the human phases. So these are only human studies. So after phase 1, so if the drug is seen to be safe and they determine the dose that's appropriate, then we go to phase 2. In phase 2, the goal is to obtain preliminary data on whether the drug works in people that actually have the disease or the condition. They continue to monitor for safety, and they also can determine short-term side effects. Again, these are relatively short studies. They nail the dosing that they want to use, and they make sure that there's no significant toxicity. Then we go to phase 3 studies, and there the trials are usually much larger. They're in the hundreds to typically thousands of individuals. Sometimes they enroll patients into what we call the drug arm or the placebo arm. So you may get the drug, or you may get a placebo, or what people like to call a sugar pill, or sugar infusion. And that's very important. That doesn't mean that we don't really know what we're doing. We are blinded, so when we are in the study, you as a patient don't know what you're getting. We as physicians don't know what you're receiving either. And the idea is that we will objectively assess you and assess your outcomes, meaning is your disease getting better or not? Are you having side effects from the drug? Without really knowing if you're on drug or not. Because we might be influenced. If you know you're getting the real drug, you may be inclined to say, well, I'm feeling better already, or something like that. And that may skew the results of the study. So it's extremely important. If the phase 3 study is successful, meaning the drug seems to work at the end of it, then the FDA reviews the results. If they agree that the results are positive and the drug is safe, then they approve it and it becomes available on the market. Post-marketing, the studies are ongoing. So if there are concerns, or there were concerns, or even if there are no concerns, the FDA always requires that we report side effects that we detect after the drug is approved. So let's say I put a patient on a particular new drug and they develop liver toxicity. I have to report that to the FDA, because then if they get that the same report from 100 physicians, when there might be something wrong with that drug that they need to look into. Remember, we go from treating thousands of patients to treating millions of patients around the globe. So it's a completely different, level of accuracy. We can detect even small problems. So why would you want to participate in a trial? I think there are multiple reasons, and people have their own individual beliefs and all their own reasons. It's extremely important to know that, and I've heard this from patients many times, that when we talk about research, people feel like, I'm a guinea pig, or people are experimenting on me. That's not the intent. The intent is truly to advance the science, to understand the diseases better, and to provide better treatment for these diseases. If they were curable, we wouldn't be doing research. If we knew that the outcome of the disease was good, what's the point of doing more research? But if we don't have good outcomes, if we cannot cure everybody, if the treatment we're using is pretty hard to take, then we need to explore new avenues, and the only way to do it, and to do it well, is by doing research. So you may want to participate if traditional treatments you've tried have not worked for you. And I'm talking particularly about kidney problems. If there is no treatment for your kidney disease, there will be patients out there that come, and they come to us sometimes for second opinions or third opinions, and we truly have no treatment for their rare diseases. Again, we just don't have any solution. When you're part of a clinical trial, you may benefit or receive medicines that are not available on the market. So if something seems to be a reasonable option and you're part of a clinical trial, then you have access to that drug that you otherwise cannot be prescribed. Some studies are designed to include people that are healthy. So we do have sometimes enrollment of healthy volunteers for a variety of reasons. A lot of times, like I said, it's in the earlier phases of the studies. And a lot of people participate because they feel like they want to contribute. It may not benefit me personally, but I want to make sure my child or my sister, my brother or my mother would never get that disease and would never face what I'm facing, or for the good of the community. So whatever your motivation is, I can tell you that without patients and without patient support and community support, we cannot advance research. So it's extremely important that we hear from you, and if you have any concerns, that we dispel some of these myths as well, kind of what was talked about in transplant, that there are a lot of misconceptions. So we absolutely need you. So if you want to know what's going on at UAB in particular for clinical trials, so in general, the government has a website, the National Institute of Health has a website where you can go on and figure out what trials are going on in the States. Or even abroad. They will put trials that are going on in China or in Germany or something like that. But you can even click on those and see, well, of that national trial, is there a local site for me to participate in? But the other option is to go on the uab.edu website, the medicine, and then particularly look at the nephrology division. And under that, there's a tab for clinical trials. And as I'm showing here, we tried to categorize them so they're subdivided into headings. So if you are looking for trials that are peculiar to, end-stage kidney disease, something in dialysis, then you would click on that tab and see if that's something you're interested in participating in. And here's the website if you want to go straight to this page. And I'll be happy to share those slides with you all. There's another way to do it as well. So UAB on campus, so this is not particular to the kidney division, has also partnered with a company called Expert Docs, where you pretty much search by condition, and this website will accept any layman term you put in. So diabetes and kidney, something like that. You don't have to say diabetic nephropathy for the system to recognize it. And it'll pull up all the trials that are ongoing on campus for diabetes, for example. And again, with that, you'll have contact information, who's the investigator, who's the physician in charge of the study, and who's the coordinator. So with that, I'd like to end. We also have little coasters, I guess, that have a little barcode you can scan, and that'll take you to the website page for the division with all the clinical trials listed there if you have any interest. And we'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you very much for your attention.